get started. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm the Great Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Sunday, July 23rd, 2023. What do we have coming through in the card for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card that we are starting our day off with today, we've got 2 cards coming out to start our day with today. We love seeing these cards in combination. What beautiful cards we're seeing today to start our day off with. We have here our 9 of Pentacles along with our 2 of Wands. So this is a day with a lot of care and attention spent in building this sense of security and stability around you at this moment. Potentially a lot of care and attention around the home, around anything that you are building that feels like a supportive system at this time. But what we also love about this is we're also seeing a lot of active communication at play. This is going to be setting up some of that working through of the 4 of Wands in its reversal that we saw just a couple days ago. As we identified, there was something here about clarification of plans, clarification of that path moving forward. So what we love to see here is this is a lot of focused energy on the self today, building a sense of easement as it relates to the environment that you find yourself in, but also setting that path ahead as you go forward and potentially even discovering that point of easement is something that is achieved when you are able to have those optics, have that communication, allowing for those productive spaces to make you feel more secure in your present moment. Now let's continue to get some clarification on these cards right now. Second card in our 5-card spread coming through right now. We like to see this one here as well. We had a bunch of cards dropping off. We're just going to take the top one because that was a lot of cards coming out on the table. But what we're really identifying here is we have here a beautiful 5 of Pentacles coming in its reversal. What this is really articulating at this time is there is an active abandonment wound that has been triggered. We have been seeing that over the last few days. But what we like about this is, again, not necessarily allowing yourself to move from a place of anxiety, not allowing yourself to move from a place of fear, but instead recognizing the fact that you have this abandonment wound that is triggered. You are actively working to heal it. And how are you working to heal it right now? You are laying the foundations. You are taking a lot of intentional action right now as it relates to what you foresee for yourself going forward from this point. And you are building a deeper sense of grounding in your own present experience, coming into a point of comfort to help address and heal the abandonment wound that was potentially triggered over the last few days. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, center card for our 5-card spread is... we have here coming through right now our 3 of Swords in its upright. This is all around that abandonment wound that we are seeing here. This is what is requiring a need to be addressed, because what we're really identifying is there is some feelings of loss. There are some feelings of uncertainty. There are some feelings of doubt or fear coming into play right now. But what we appreciate about this is you are not necessarily allowing yourself to move in a reactive space right now as it relates to what you're feeling, but instead you are putting a lot of care and attention into thinking about what is leading to that feeling, all to get to that deeper work, that deeper heartache that needs to be addressed to make sure that you are not operating from a state of just feeling your feelings and reacting emotionally from them, but instead using that as a point of optics to ask yourself, what do you need to change? What do you need to address? What do you need to move forward from at this point? How do you build security and stability for yourself at this time that is going to allow you to continue to do this work of healing around some situations and circumstances revolved around an abandonment wound? There's also a beautiful point that we're seeing here as it relates to these cards. Thank you so much for the gift. That is really based on the fact that you are recognizing that there is kind of a pervasive moment that is effectively going to be occurring right now as it relates to these wounds. That even as you are actively working to heal them, there are some aspects to them that you kind of have to carry with you as you proceed forward from this point. But what we appreciate about this is you aren't letting this be a blocker right now, more a point of observation so that you can figure out the best way going forward. 4th card today for our 5-card spread is, may I please have the 4th card? We have coming through right now for our 4th card. We love to see this card in its upright. We have here our King of Cups. Masculine energy has been coming out in the deck in a huge way over the last few days. The last reading we did had a lot of masculine energy all moving into a place of stabilization and planning. What we love to see right now for the masculine energy is a lot of that work that you've been doing for yourself at this time. A lot of that tangible effort is now paying off, because we see here that for the masculine particularly, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to, this is a moment that you are coming into a point of emotional balance and emotional stability, balancing that feminine energy within you that is making it easier for you to manage or maintain some of the emotional expressions that you're feeling at this time. So this could be speaking right now towards a point of an ease in communication, in an ease in your own ability to advocate and communicate your feelings. And some of those things that you could be communicating right now may have to do with some of this heartache that we see is on the table right now. But again, what we appreciate with the masculine energy in this moment that is potentially working through any of this heartbreak is you're not letting yourself come into a point of reactivity over it. Instead, you're allowing it to create this point of emotional balance for you that's helping you be able to navigate the experience of it at this time, recognizing the abandonment wound that's effectively associated to it. So you're getting to effectively the heart of what it is that truly hurts, rather than just reacting to the base level feeling of it, with a lot of attention right now in creating this sense of stability and security and planning right now as you proceed forward from this point. While for feminine energy right now, this is either working in union with a masculine energy that you recognize has a degree and ability of maintaining this point of emotional balance at this time. This is a unified effort that you are potentially both working through right now to address any issues around heartbreak, to address any difficulties or hurdles that you're experiencing, with mutual equal moments of identifying the source causes, going into those deeper wounds, understanding the base reason of why something may have hurt or why something is causing difficulty at this moment, all for the unified goal of creating a deeper sense of comfort at this moment through communication. While for the other part of the feminine collective, this is effectively potentially the work that you're doing to manifest this type of energy at this time, that there potentially is this point of orientation that you yourself are experiencing around some situations or circumstances that may have triggered an abandonment wound. But what we again appreciate around the feminine energy that is actively experiencing this wound around the abandonment wound is we have been seeing here, you are not letting yourself go back to the situations and circumstances that created the wound in the first place. You are utilizing this as a point of healing and recognizing that to manifest right now, doing a lot of this work to manifest a masculine energy that is in a point of emotional balance, identifying and putting the concentration right now in your own personal environment right now. And again, putting through that productive communication from this point to help you identify and articulate and move through some of the situation that you're feeling at this time, all towards the act of manifesting this balanced masculine energy. We love to see this for both the unified and the ununified energies at this time. Fifth card today for our 5-card spread. Before we start getting clarification on these cards right now, may I please have one card to clarify? We've got here Temperance. There is something very important at play here with this feeling of not rushing through things. This is what we want to see when we see these abandonment wounds or this 3 of Swords energy coming to the surface right now, because this is really identifying the fact that there's something about what you're feeling right now, even if you're feeling something that is creating a moment of heartbreak or doubt at this time, that is requiring a certain degree of patience. This is bringing that emotional intentionality to the fold, as opposed to allowing something to just be a gut reaction based on the top level feeling. For masculine energy, it is this sense of patience, this degree of being able to sit with one's own emotionality at this time that is so valuable and important, because what we really see that you're doing at this time is being able to build this degree of patience to be able to allow this point of articulating how you're feeling is helping you navigate the heartbreak, as it were, even as it relates to circumstances or scenarios that may be triggering an abandonment wound for you at this time. For the masculine energy right now that is unified with feminine, this is a moment that you're mutually experiencing this feeling. But again, both identifying a need and desire to come into a state of healing, identifying the root causes or the root sources of some of those pains, of some of those difficulties and burdens that you're carrying, with that mutual desire and ability to build a sense of comfort for yourselves at this moment, but also to plan and the path ahead with healthy communication as you proceed forward from this point. While for the masculine energy that is not necessarily in union at this time, this is a moment that you are taking to give yourself this time to come into a point of emotional balance. You are recognizing that you're reaching this higher degree of emotional balance at this time, which could be feeling very difficult. For the masculine energy receiving this message right now, this is a lot of deep healing that is coming through at the heart of this for you. Because what we really see is something about this ability right now to sit with one's own feelings and come into a state of emotional balance is ultimately at the same time feeling extremely triggering, because it's unearthing deeper wounds. It's making you not just look at the surface level wound that may have caused some of this feeling that you're experiencing right now, but it's helping you get to the heart of a much deeper abandonment wound that's potentially at play, which is why we see the fact that you're allowing yourself to sit with this feeling, because in sitting with that feeling, what we really identify as happening is you're coming to a point of deeper emotional understanding of yourself in the process. So beautiful, though difficult work right now for the masculine energy. For feminine energy right now, we also see that this is some very difficult work at this time, because again, you are actively experiencing some situation or circumstances, either some kind of trigger point that's triggered some memory from the past to come rising up to the surface, or something that you are actively experiencing right now that has created some sort of heartbreak or wound at this time. You are recognizing right now that there is that abandonment wound that has been kind of triggered here. But again, for feminine energy, what we love to see here is the feminine energy is similarly and simultaneously not letting this be a point of reactivity. Instead, what is feminine doing? Feminine energy is sitting through, going through that moment of healing with a concentration on their own sense of building a sense of security, stability, and comfort for themselves at this moment, while also planning and plotting that path ahead. That is what is helping the feminine energy navigate this heart space wound right now. And again, either working in unison with a masculine energy that is simultaneously and similarly working through these same processes in kind, or working through a fast, steadfast decision not to go back to circumstances and situations that have triggered the wound, but instead to be working towards manifesting a masculine energy that is in a point of emotional balance that would help you effectively not necessarily need to experience the abandonment wound being triggered at all. And this is simultaneously for feminine requiring a point of patience, requiring a point of having to sit with this feeling even as you push through and navigate at this time. Basically being able to effectively walk and chew gum between your own ability to manage and maintain some sense of difficulty, some sense of burden, some sense of heartbreak right now, even as you put a lot of care and attention on the path forward and what you are trying to communicate and plan for yourself at this time. Now, let's start to get some clarification on the cards that we have out on the table right now. Clarification right now between our 9 of Pentacles in combination with our 2 of Wands, in combination with our 3 of Wands. This is going to feel a little bit hairy today, because while we see that there is a lot of care and orientation being paid on your immediate environment and setting up that path, setting up that communication, heavy on the communication today, there is some wounds here that are rising to the surface. There are some doubts, some fears, some heartache that is being potentially carried, and potentially even in some of that communication that you are expressing today. This is what some of the orientation on that communication potentially could be right now. Having to communicate some of this heartache, having to communicate some of these difficulties that you are currently experiencing, but again, in a positive, productive way to help address and to build a sense of comfort as you proceed forward from this point. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 8 of Pentacles. We like this because this shows I mean, again, it's not ideal, but it is productive, right? Because what we're really seeing right now is this isn't necessarily a moment of kind of like experiencing or expressing some point of heartache right now for the sake of one's own, self-indulgence or one's own committed, like, like gripe session. What we're really seeing is happening to a certain extent is there's something that you are utilizing right now that feels like it is necessary. It is necessary to express or communicate some of the challenges that you yourself are potentially facing at this moment right now, all to the extent and all to the direction of being able to find a point of better work as you proceed forward from this time. This is a lot of taking some of that issue, having to come forward and express some of your own difficulties at this time. But all for the most productive way possible, to be able to create this path forward that's going to feel more functional and more productive as you proceed forward from this point. So this could be this could actually be indicating today some difficult conversations that may need to be had, because can potentially be having to talk about some very difficult subjects, is what we're really seeing here potentially with this Three of Swords here. But what we really like about this is showing a lot of the fact that this is not being done in a negative or a damaging fashion right now. Rather, it is done right now for a sense of building a deeper level of security, of coming into a point of comfort and trying to communicate where you are, even if it is difficult, all for the sake of finding that more productive space going forward. A lot of emotional integration coming through right now as it relates to some of your own doubts and fears, but being able to find ways to advocate around them in the most productive way and functional way possible. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between this very hairy energy of our Three of Swords in combination with our Five of Pentacles in its reversal. So again, having a moment that can feel very difficult, because we see here that there is something that you're actively potentially working through right now that is very, 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 very triggering. It has brought up a bit of anxiety and fear and difficulty and heartache right now. But what we also appreciate right now is you're not letting it effectively block or stop you at this moment. You are utilizing it in the most productive way possible, recognizing the abandonment wound that has been triggered in this moment, all to the effort of moving with a lot of intentionality and care as you proceed forward from this point. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Nine of Wands in its upright. So while we do identify the fact that there is an active abandonment wound, there is that trigger point that is happening right now, and we see the fact that you're not necessarily trying to move from a space of reactivity, we do see that this is an area that you are very, very guarded around. You are recognizing this work that you're identifying right now has to do exactly with the fact that whatever is bringing up this anxiety, whatever's bringing up this pain, is something that is very sensitive for you. It's very hard for you to communicate on because you're still feeling very wounded around the circumstances or situations that may have led you to experience this heartbreak or heartache in the first place. For the masculine and feminine energy that is in union right now, this is potentially feeling like a bit of a struggle point, because while you're trying to actively work to navigate this space, you're also noticing that you're hitting up against a lot of walls. You're hitting up against someone's own walls and points of this nature. But there's a lot of moment right now of recognizing those walls and trying to navigate them in a safe way, all to the point of healing these wounds as you go forward from this point. While for the energy that is not in union right now, this is going to feel like a bit more of an isolation point, because we see here that there is something that you are effectively trying to address right now. Because while we do see this need of trying to communicate around these circumstances or situations, this might not even be something that you're fully able to articulate upon right now. We're almost seeing like baby steps right now in some communication around these sensitive areas, because there are some moments right now that still feel extremely guarded. that this is not easy conversations. These are not easy places to navigate. But what we love about this right now is for both masculine and feminine energy, you are doing the work to confront these spaces even while you recognize that there is difficulty here. Because one of the things that you could be articulating about right now is your own trepidation due to the heartache, due to the abandonment wound being triggered. Again, utilizing your own doubts and fears, but not reacting from them, articulating upon them in a productive way to help you find that path going forward that will lead to better easement. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our Five of Pentacles in its reversal, in combination with our King of Cups energy. So for masculine energy right now, this is a point of beautiful healing that we're really seeing. Absolutely beautiful, though it is a challenge. Because what we're really identifying for the masculine energy right now is coming into a state of emotional balance at the exact moment that you are recognizing and trying to heal from an abandonment wound being triggered. This isn't to say that an abandonment wound hasn't been triggered around the masculine energy right now. This is masculine energy feeling the heartache, recognizing the heartache they're feeling is tapped into a deeper issue, going into that journey for themselves at this time that is allowing this degree of emotional balance for the masculine as they proceed forward from this point. While for feminine energy right now, this is again simultaneously either working in union right now with the masculine energy that is actively able to do this work and recognizing and feeling the fact that even while you are simultaneously doing this work, this energy is simultaneously in balance, who is helping you. Hence, we've got some divine union energy coming into play here. While for the energy that is not in union right now, for the feminine, this is again putting in that confirmation of experiencing some setbacks, experiencing some points of heartbreak, but working very steadfastly to build this sense or stability around yourself at this moment, to manifest towards you right now balanced masculine energy, emotionally balanced masculine energy that could help you navigate even in the wake of an abandonment wound being experienced and not effectively abandon you or leave you feeling like that wound was triggered in the first place. May I please have one card to clarify? Whoop! Clarification coming through right now. Beautiful energy here, because what we're really seeing is we have here our Queen of Swords here. So this is really articulating the differentiation on how the feminine and masculine energy are effectively navigating the abandonment wound that is currently being triggered as it relates to the heartache that they're currently experiencing at this time. How is masculine energy navigating that abandonment wound? Masculine energy is having to, we keep seeing this, masculine energy is having to navigate this abandonment wound by coming into emotional balance, by not running from the emotionality that you're feeling masculine, but instead allowing that emotionality to express within you, to let yourself sit with it in a point of patience so that you can come into deeper emotional balance. Feminine energy does not need to figure out how to sit with their feelings. Feminine energy, it comes out of the box with the feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. What are we seeing that the feminine energy needs to do as this abandonment wound gets triggered? Feminine energy needs to set boundaries against what they are feeling versus what they know they need to move towards right now. This is the work that the feminine needs to do right now as it relates to the abandonment wound being triggered. Because for feminine energy, the emotionality is potentially what drives them back to spaces or places that triggered the abandonment wound in the first place. So for feminine energy, as we said, for the masculine and feminine energy that's in union right now, this is the collaborative effort between both energies as they proceed forward in union to actively try to heal from some of these experiences. Masculine is having to open themselves up emotionally more right now, more than they ever have prior to this point. While feminine energy is having to work very difficultly, like with a lot of difficulty, to set healthy boundaries for themselves and to maintain those boundaries that they have committed themselves on, not to go back to these places or spaces or situations or individuals that have caused that pain, that have caused these wounds, that have triggered these situations and circumstances in the first place. While for the energy that is not in union right now, this is a lot of the personal journey that you're currently experiencing at this time. Masculine energy is doing a lot of this deep diving right now into the original causation points of these emotional wounds, which is very triggering and difficult for the masculine energy. But you're giving yourself the patience to do so as you come into better emotional alignment as you proceed forward from this point. While for the feminine energy, this is simply a struggle point because this is the feminine energy having to commit themselves not to go back to situations and circumstances that have caused them this degree of fear, that have caused this degree of anxiety, that have triggered these abandonment wounds. Feminine energy is choosing not to resign or not to give up their own boundaries around situations and circumstances, even as they're experiencing them, that is creating a point of heartbreak, but instead holding to their own degree of what they feel they need to maintain in order to stay in alignment right now. For both masculine and feminine energy, this is a bit of a challenge because it is a bit of a waiting game that we see that both energies need to commit to at this point as they proceed forward from this point. And it's a bit difficult because you're actively experiencing a lot of heartbreak even as you do this work. But we really see the beauty of the intentionality of working through the abandonment wound, working through the trigger, if you will, not allowing yourself to be reactive, but allowing yourself to sit, to move with intentionality, even if you are a bit guarded in the process. For both masculine and feminine energy, this is very beautiful energy that we're seeing between these cards right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Cups energy in combination with our Temperance energy. For masculine energy, there is a moment that is requiring a degree or level of patience in situations or scenarios that you are feeling thus triggered in right now. One of the things that is happening right now with the masculine energy is not just the fact that you're allowing yourself to feel the full expression of these emotions without reacting, but you're also having to do it for more extended periods of time. You're having to do it for longer. This is a bit of a strength training exercise for the masculine because it's not just about having to feel your feelings at this moment. It's having to feel your feelings and then sit with those feelings for like a longer period of time that you navigate that intentionally or previously may have had to right here. This is some situation or circumstance that is trying the masculine energy emotionally because it's requiring a degree of patience. But masculine is doing everything they can right now to maintain their emotional balance in the face of circumstances that they realize and recognize require a degree of patience that is testing them even as they experience it. While for feminine energy right now, this is simultaneously also requiring a moment that is needing you to hold patience, potentially as it relates to maintaining these healthy boundaries right now. For the masculine and feminine energy right now, some of the situations and circumstances you're going through right now could be feeling a bit trying because it could be feeling like a bit of a waiting game. But you're doing this active work right now to heal these spaces and places as you kind of wait to get this, what you need to proceed forward from this point. While for the energy that is not in union for masculine, there is something here about coming into better emotional alignment that is requiring some degree of patience right now. This could even be around circumstances and situations of a feminine that is holding healthy boundaries, that is requiring a degree of patience. But what we love about this is for the masculine energy, this is helping you move into a space of healing, recognizing that this feminine energy that you're potentially moving towards is maintaining healthy boundaries because they're feeling guarded, because there's a reason for it. There's active healing that's occurring between these energies right now. While for feminine energy right now, what we're really identifying is there is a moment that you yourself are holding your boundaries. You are committing yourself not to go back to situations or circumstances that have created any difficulty, that have created these doubts and fears, that have created the heartache in the first place. Again, working to manifest for yourself at this time a balanced masculine energy who would be in a point of emotional balance, who would not create these issues in the first place, allowing a point of receptivity, if you will, for energy to come towards you right now, so long as they are able to come from a place of emotional balance and emotional expression. And feminine basically saying that they're willing to put in the waiting game to receive that right now, to see that from the masculine energy. And that is where these boundaries are coming from. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming right now with this is difficult. 222 people in the room as I say this. This is difficult work. This is either metaphysically difficult. This is an internal challenge point. This feels like an inner struggle that you are currently experiencing right now. Or this is around a very active, immediate, present struggle that you are experiencing. For masculine and feminine energy right now will feel a little bit different. For masculine energy right now, as I said, this degree and this desire, this need to have to be patient in some situations is creating either an internal sense of struggle for you, because it's not just the fact that you have to maintain this emotionality at this time. It has to be that you have to consistently try to stay balanced through a situation that you are feeling a lot of this active conflict around at this point. While for the masculine energy, this could be around a situation or circumstance that is tangibly has some sort of active conflict around it that is requiring you to maintain a degree of keeping cool, keeping calm, keeping level-headed, keeping emotionally balanced through it, right? That is requiring this degree of patience that is trying you, because we see here that it is an active challenge point for you as you proceed forward from this point. While for feminine energy right now, this is simultaneously also feeling this degree or level of patience as it relates to some points of conflict at this moment. For the feminine energy that is experiencing this internal conflict right now, this is again a lot of that balance as you work to maintain a point of healing, holding those boundaries for yourself, holding those healthy boundaries for yourself, again, is feeling either like an internal struggle right now, or this is requiring you to maintain heavy boundaries, to hold to your own boundaries right now in a very active struggle. Again, recognizing if you are in union, if these energies are in union, masculine and feminine are equally sharing this joint feeling of battle, right? There's something here that is requiring the masculine and feminine energy to move in this degree together right now. And it is requiring a certain amount of patience as you do so, recognizing that there is something about this struggle that is going to take a little bit of time. For the energy that is not in union right now, this is that moment that we see the differentiation of having to deal with the abandonment wound that you're currently experiencing right now. For masculine energy, it's requiring you to maintain a degree of patience, of emotional balance as you explore this situation or circumstance from the within, either around a tangible point of conflict that you are trying to keep your cool on right now. You're trying to keep your emotional balance in at this moment, even while it's triggering, or trying to maintain this on an internal level right now, masculine, as you proceed forward from this point, is feeling like a real challenge. While for feminine energy, this is again either working right now in a point where you are maintaining healthy boundaries at this time, either in an internal struggle not to go back to situations and circumstances that may have triggered this abandonment wound, that may have caused this heartbreak, but with an identification that you are working to manifest an emotionally balanced masculine energy, and being able to try to hold this balance right now is feeling like a deep internal struggle, because it is taking a degree of patience as you work to manifest this right now. Or for other parts of the feminine energy right now, this is potentially working right now in immediate feeling like there's a pervasive point of conflict between you and an outside masculine energy. But simply only holding your boundaries and only allowing that energy to come back in if they are showing this degree of emotional balance at this time, if they're showing this capacity and this availability of being able to approach you from a point of emotional balance. And feminine energy just basically holding these boundaries and doing it in a long-term fashion, because feminine energy is trying to move forward to heal that unhealed karmic wound by saying you're only going to allow in the masculine energy that's reached that point of balance going forward from this time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Eight of Pentacles in its upright, in combination with what we like to see here. Well, it's a bit of a trouble point, actually. We've got here our Nine of Wands in its upright. So again, the Nine of Wands coming through is always a bit of a challenge point. There's some feelings here of feeling guarded. There's some feelings that are coming through right now that something is feeling triggered. Obviously, everyone's feeling triggered right now. You're working through some things, you're navigating. There's a feeling of holding back, if you will. Masculine's working to not get out of emotional balance right now. Feminine's working to hold healthy boundaries through difficult situations. But this is that point of orientation in terms of what needs to be worked through right now, how to find those points of productivity, even through some moments or circumstances that you are feeling to a certain degree are extremely emotionally challenged right now because you're feeling extremely emotionally wounded or extremely emotionally guarded, even while you're trying to be as productive or functional as possible at this moment. May I please have one card to clarify? Two cards coming out to clarify right now. We've got here beautiful energy. We've got here our Ace of, we keep seeing this Ace of Pentacles in its reversal coming out like hotcakes all like the last 7 days. This card does not want to stay in the deck, but beautifully, what is in combination with today? It is in combination with our Two of Cups, which is what we love to see, because what we're really identifying right now is this is that moment of overinvestment, a degree of overinvestment in partnerships that show this capacity and degree of reciprocity, of equality, of transparency going forward. There's something here that is requiring an overinvestment right now as it relates to putting in. It's going to feel like a lot of additional effort, overpouring right now, almost to make up for the space that you are feeling like it is a struggle point to be able to function in this degree right now. But what we love about this for both masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is that masculine and feminine energy are not surrendering to this feeling today. They're feeling extremely guarded, but they're throwing their efforts and energies into the spaces and places that they're really trying to get things done. It's feeling like almost an over-investment right now because it's so hard to push through as you're feeling a lot of this emotional anxiety or these emotional setbacks. But we see here that there's a lot of supportive energy coming through at this exact same time, even as you're having to overextend yourself in this moment around those energies that you recognize that are coming forward, that are showing this degree of capacity of support, that are showing this degree of capacity of equality, that are showing this degree of capacity of wanting to help and navigate you as you go through this point. Relationship-wise, this is speaking towards putting a lot of care and attention right now on the partnership itself, that for the energy that is in union right now, even as you are going through a struggle, you are recognizing that as you go through this struggle, it's almost reaffirming your own commitment to that relationship energy, because you recognize the fact that you don't back down when things get difficult. Instead, you overinvest, you overcommit towards those places and spaces that you truly have your heart set on at this moment. While for feminine and masculine energy that is not in union, this is that similar feeling right now of pouring a lot of your care and attention right now into potentially your own level of productivity at this moment. For masculine and feminine energy right now, there's a lot of care and orientation of feeling some feelings of heartbreak, of going through some moments of wound. But we don't see that you're letting that block you at this time. You're pouring yourself into those spaces that feel like they are productive with a focus on equal partnership, with a focus on either manifesting this equal partnership for you right now by committing yourself to what you're trying to create for yourself at this moment, or even through a situation that feels like it is really kind of allowing some of these triggered wounds to rise to the surface, or again, reaffirming and recommitting to those partnerships that you feel are able to help you navigate those spaces, even as you are triggered, even as you are feeling uncertain, recognizing that feeling of help, a degree of equality, a degree of support, even as you are pouring all of your time and energy into those practical spaces. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Wands. We love seeing these two cards in combination, guys, right? In combination with our Queen of Swords in its upright. And this is going to feel very different depending on where you align on this collective, depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For feminine energy right now, this is where we are seeing the struggle point. This is where we are seeing the difficulty and the degree, because you are feeling a moment that you are having that emotional trigger point being hit, the emotional heartache, the fear, the anxieties coming to the surface with this abandonment wound being triggered. A feminine energy is fighting right now between these dual forces of, again, the difference between, and this is so important, the difference between, okay, working from a space of having one's guard up, right? And what's the difference between having a healthy boundary versus having one's guard up? The difference for the feminine is recognizing the difference between having one's guard up, working in a space of anxiety and fear, working in a space of operating, having that fear at drive you forward or make the decisions for choices for you, versus moving forward with confidence, moving forward with direction, moving forward with clarity, but also being very discriminating, being very discerning, being very careful and conscientious as you go forward from this point. Learning the lessons, having learned the lessons from the past, having allowed the lessons from the hurts from the past guide you into a space of maintaining and upholding the healthy boundaries going forward, hence not going back to situations that caused those wounds in the first place, hence the healthy boundaries coming to the surface here. For masculine energy right now, this is working with a feminine energy that you recognize has this capacity and ability. While for the other part of the masculine energy, this is a moment that could feel a bit difficult, because what we see here for the energy that is not in union, masculine wise, we are seeing that this could be a moment that you yourself are working or potentially navigating through some difficulty or heartache that has effectively been triggered to a certain extent around situations or circumstances. Your confidence may have potentially been robbed around some of these, but also having to have a point of orientation and recognizing the energy that is associated to it. Really asking if there is this moment right now that we are identifying that is requiring a certain level or degree of allowing this point that you can set these healthy boundaries as you go forward from this point, okay? What we're really identifying right now is this moment that you are seeing this fact for feminine, that you are experiencing an active feminine energy, that you are holding these boundaries. For some of the masculine energy right now, this is where we're seeing the alignment coming in. Because for half of the masculine energy right now, we are identifying that this is a moment that you are seeing the fact that the feminine energy holds these healthy boundaries because of wounds of the past. Because of the wounds of the past. Masculine energy is working either in union with the feminine energy, that they recognize that their boundaries are because of old wounds, and you're actively working with that energy to heal them. For the other part of the masculine collective, this could be feeling like a bit of a trigger point, because something about seeing the feminine energy holding these boundaries may have left you in a space of wounding, but you're recognizing that potentially now, which is why you're allowing yourself not to be reactive to it, but instead going into the deeper abandonment wound that was hit or triggered in the process of that feminine energy, simply trying to lay a healthy boundary. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Wheel of Fortune, and baby, it's in its upright, which is where we want to see our Wheel of Fortune coming through. This is that moment of karmic healing. This is that moment of karmic alignment that we so much want to see here, because what we're really identifying right now for the feminine energy. Feminine energy right now is moving right now, again, not from a place of emotionality, not allowing themselves to move from that need base, but allowing that higher focus, allowing their higher destiny to come into play. recognizing to a certain degree for the feminine energy, that feminine energy recognizes that anything that is for them isn't going to require them to have their guard up, isn't going to require them to have to feel like they're constantly wounded, that whatever is effectively aligned towards them is going to put them in a space of empowerment, of allowing this sense of power. And feminine, to a certain extent, is trusting on their own path of faith right now in this moment, recognizing that there is some uncertainty here as it relates to their destiny going forward, but trusting that as long as the feminine energy tries their best to stay in their integrity, as long as the feminine energy acts from a place of their own personal integrity, then they know that they'll be on the path that is aligned to their highest benefit right now, that is helping the feminine even through some of the doubts and fears that they're currently expressing at this time. While for masculine energy right now, this could feel a little bit different depending on where you fall on this collective. If you are currently working right now with a feminine energy that is embodying these qualities, you are identifying and understanding the fact that the feminine energy around you right now, if they are feeling guarded, if they are putting some walls up, you are respecting and understanding that that is not a reaction to you at this point, but the fact that the feminine energy is operating from a space of deeper wounds, of older hurts, that these are moments right now that the feminine energy is trying to utilize that pain to bring them into a point of deeper empowerment. And that is an energy that is simultaneously working on your behalf and for your benefit, because that is something that serves both of your own purposes right now, because you are getting that point of empowerment with a feminine energy that is helping you maintain a level and degree of your own emotional empowerment and steadiness through your own doubts, through your own fears. What are we seeing here that's happening here that's really beautiful for the masculine energy and the feminine energy that's in union right now? Masculine energy is going softer. Masculine energy is going more vulnerable. Masculine energy is opening up, allowing the feminine energy to be embodied in them, because the feminine energy is picking up the slack. It's taking up the weight to balance the masculine's own ability, creating the space, creating the safe space with their own boundaries to allow the masculine energy to be emotionally vulnerable through their own doubts and fears, which is showing the fact that there's a point of trusting in faith as you proceed forward on this exercise. While for the energy that is not in alignment, this is a much deeper personal journey that you're going through right now that could feel a lot more difficult, because what we're identifying for the feminine energy right now is this is a moment that is requiring you to maintain and hold these boundaries and trust in the process of faith as you continue to set your own and hold to your own integrity, not to go back to situations or circumstances that you feel would cause you to be in this point of weakness, in this point of vulnerability. While for the masculine energy, again, this is that moment that could be requiring you to change your own mindset as it relates to some of the feminine energy around you right now that you see is holding these boundaries, recognizing that these boundaries, again, for the masculine, this is that decision point in understanding that this isn't something that is happening to you. It's something that you are experiencing that the feminine energy is doing because they had to. The masculine energy is either taking the boundaries personally right now that the feminine is setting, or the masculine energy is identifying the fact that the personal boundaries the feminine is setting is because the feminine energy is coming from places and spaces where they have been deeply wounded. This is going to be that point of alignment in terms of where the masculine energy falls on this point as they come into emotional balance. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between the Queen of Swords in its upright and our Five of Wands. Feminine energy right now, maintaining a degree of holding healthy boundaries. Again, a point of empowerment, not acting from a point of defensiveness or reactivity, but holding to their integrity potentially around challenging circumstances and situations. This is either an internal conflict that is being articulated here, internal difficulty points, the struggle not to go back to situations and circumstances that have caused these wounds, that have caused these burdens, that have caused these difficulties, or actively having to navigate a tangible point of conflict today that is requiring you to hold to your integrity, to not react and get triggered, that may potentially create deeper sense of heartbreak at this moment, While for the masculine energy right now, this is a moment that you yourself are also experiencing a point of conflict. If you are in union with feminine energy right now, you are getting this degree of stability and support from a feminine energy that is effectively allowing some space, is coming through, that is showing a degree and capacity of strength to help you as you navigate some of this point of conflict that you are either experiencing on an internal level right now or on a very tangible level. Or for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is a moment that you yourself may potentially be experiencing some internal or external conflict related to a feminine energy maintaining their boundaries on this point. And this is that moment for the masculine energy that is that point that is having to identify and understand right now with the feminine. Are you going to take the boundaries personally, or are you and create a point of argument or conflict around them? Or are you going to understand that the feminine energy is holding these boundaries because of past experiences that have wounded them, trying to even experiencing the fact that doing so creates a sense of conflict with them as well. This is that point of conflict the masculine is having as it relates to trying to identify how to navigate potentially some of that boundary holding this feminine is setting right now, that is creating again, either like an external conflict that is being addressed or an internal conflict that is not necessarily making it easy for you to maintain your own emotional balance as you are experiencing it. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, we like to see this. We like to see this a great deal. We have here our Ace of Wands. What is going to solve the uncertainty or the conflict for that masculine is potentially feeling right now? If this is a masculine that is going through a moment right now with the feminine energy that seems to be holding boundaries right now, the solution is apparently communication. Masculine energy is trying to get that clarification, trying to get that communication from the feminine energy. This is potentially even communicating or trying to communicate. This is why the masculine energy is trying not to lose their own emotional center right now around circumstances and situations that are requiring a degree of patience, because the masculine energy is trying to effectively come forward in these places with an idea, with communication, with new possibilities, with new ideas, with new opportunities. Masculine energy is coming towards the feminine right now in this way, and this is the degree and capacity too, right? We like this because this is the productive movement out of a point of conflict right now for both masculine and feminine energy. For the masculine and feminine energy, this is really beautiful. For the masculine and feminine energy that is working in union right now, what is happening with a masculine energy that is able to maintain their own emotional balance right now, even through a point of conflict, but recognizing that they have a supportive feminine that's going to help them in any degree of any conflict that they're experiencing? New opportunity, new creativity, new communication. This is actually like a spark of creativity that shoots out of the masculine energy because they're having a space that they can channel all of that emotional productivity in the most creative way possible to the most productive effort. While for the feminine energy simultaneously as well, the feminine energy that is having to hold a lot of degree of boundaries right now, even through some internal or external conflicts, with the support of a masculine that is very emotionally receptive and available to them to help them through their emotional needs. It's inspiring the feminine energy. It's inspiring the feminine energy to move forward, to be more productive, more communication. This is what we see. This is what we want to see when we see divine union energy coming into play. This is the type of thing we like to see. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in union right now, this is going to be more of a personal achievement moment right now. For the feminine energy right now, as we said, feminine energy is working right now through a point of difficulty, through some points of heartbreak, through some points right now of immediate internal conflict around past situations or circumstances, or present conflict. And what is feminine holding those boundaries towards? Emotionally balanced masculine energy that communicates, that communicates and articulates their passion right now. This is the feminine energy that is not necessarily in union, working right now to effectively say, like, any point of conflict that they're feeling right now, not only is the feminine only energy only accepting that type of energy that they're trying to manifest right now, but if they're feeling like this, they're taking a lot of that conflict and they're just moving that energy into productive, creative spaces and places right now. Hence, the productive communication and that sense of comfort at this time that we started our reading with right now. While for the masculine energy that is not in union right now, this is potentially, again, experiencing some moment right now with a feminine energy that you recognize is holding these boundaries. You are feeling some point of internal or external conflict right now around this feminine energy. But for some of the collective right now, you may be identifying that these boundaries were held because this energy was coming out of a place of being wounded, that these are not necessarily intentionally meant to wound you, even though they may actively have wounded you in some way, but that they were coming from a space of a feminine energy that had cause or reason to have those kind of guardrails up. And masculine energy is now utilizing that same point of conflict around a feminine energy that is holding these boundaries to allow for this point of productivity, to try to allow for some point of creativity, to allow for some point of inspiration, to further push through right now, to move out of a conflict point and to make it into something that feels more productive right now. This is either through productive new communication or new idea towards this feminine energy that has these boundaries, or this is putting a lot of this energy into your own creative endeavors right now as you try to build this point of stability towards yourself at this moment. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Cups in combination with our Ace of Pentacles in combination with our Wheel of Fortune. For masculine and feminine energy, this is really beautiful right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. Because what we're really identifying right now is there's a lot of care and attention right now in terms of what an equal partnership looks like. This doesn't necessarily need to revolve right now around simply romantic partnership. This is any partnership that you're currently in your own life right now. We've been seeing this a lot in the cards, especially with the daily collective read, with cards like the Lover's card coming into play with the Chariot. There's a lot of identification right now in terms of looking towards those partnerships that you feel are going to be equal and productive moving forward. We're seeing here, today is a day of a lot of over investment right now in those spaces and places that you see some ideal partnership energy in right now, trusting in fate that if you put this care and attention and all of your effort and energy into what you're trying to manifest for yourself in this moment around partnerships, that fate will effectively take the wheel and help you the rest of the way. May I please get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Chariot in its reversal. So this is very interesting because what are we seeing here? This card may look a little familiar because we just got this. We just identified that this is that moment, right? What are we also doing? What's most important here? What is stopping? What is stopping feminine energy right now from going back to situations and circumstances that cause some pain? Why does the feminine energy need to have these boundaries up right now? Why the masculine in a place where they're being emotionally expressive and emotionally receptive right now? Because even in the midst of identifying these places right now that you are overcommitting your time and energy into, all for the sake of these aligned partnerships, trusting in faith to guide you as long as you put as much energy in the direction that you want to go into right now, to allow fate to do the work that it needs to do at this time. You're also putting a lot of care and orientation in terms of what is not going in the direction that you want it to go into at this time. What is not allowing for those breakthrough points? What feels like it is getting you off of your path? You'll recall even with the cards of the day recently, we were seeing that mixed point between that Page of Cups energy in combination with the Magician, looking about that dividing line between what feels like it is in flow to help you manifest what you're truly trying to manifest at this time versus what you feel just gets you off track. versus what you feel just gets you off your own alignment, versus anything that just starts to create stumbling blocks or divert you from what you're trying to do right now. This is that point of orientation and optics right now as it relates to like what you truly feel is valuable and is creating that sense of reciprocity going forward, versus removing or shedding anything that feels like it is not in alignment with you, especially for feminine energy. Again, like a lot of moments right now about coming into a point of integrity, holding to your integrity. Masculine, moving in a space that you feel emotionally safe, emotionally comfortable as you go forward from this point, and shedding to a certain degree anything that you don't necessarily feel is creating that sense of possibility or openness as you proceed forward from this point. Continuing to clarification on these cards right now between our Wheel of Fortune in combination with our Ace of Wands energy. Again, beautiful energy for today, because what we really see is, again, trusting. It's not the fact that an abandonment wound isn't being triggered, but it is trusting in fate. It is putting yourself in the hands of fate, trusting in that higher alignment, and allowing your creativity, your communication to guide you the rest of the way, following your highest path, but that highest path being one about communication, creativity, receptivity, allowing that to act as your goal in terms of moving towards your desires at this moment. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Strength card in its reversal. We will point out this is some of that vulnerability that we're seeing right now. This is not easy. We're seeing that here. Masculine, it is not easy for the masculine energy to stay this emotionally open at this time. For feminine, it is not easy for the feminine to continually work on holding to these boundaries for themselves at this moment. But what we really see for both masculine and feminine energy is there's a recognition point about finding that beautiful, humble center, allowing that point of surrender, allowing themselves to step into a point of vulnerability that is actually speaking towards a deeper sense of strength at this moment. Because that allowing of that point of vulnerability is that creative spark, is that new possibility, is that new opportunity, is moving in this space of being more vulnerable and open. For masculine and feminine, this is doing something in a different way to yield different results, trusting fate to guide you as you take this new direction for yourself at this time. And it's difficult. It feels very vulnerable. It's very challenging for both masculine and feminine energy in different ways. It would be very easy for the feminine to be emotional. Feminine's not being emotional. It would be very easy for the masculine to be very like standing in integrity or like holding very like stoically. Masculine's being very emotional and receptive right now. This is that beautiful moment of coming into deeper alignment, especially for the energies that are in union, because you're allowing for that symbiosis to occur. But it is a vulnerable expression of such, because it's allowing a level of vulnerability that may not feel easy for you, even as you experience some of that abandonment wound, because you're not just reacting, you're allowing yourself to sit in that space and hold it even as you proceed. Final card for today's spread between our Chariot energy in its reversal in combination with our Strength card in its reversal. So again, this is also a point of release, because even as you are moving right now with a lot of care and orientation towards those partnerships that you feel are truly in alignment for you at this time, there's an observation in terms of what doesn't feel like it is aligned to your highest path. For feminine, this is a lot of that emotional release we see around some circumstances or situations that you potentially have a lot of walls up on, having to recognize some directions that don't feel like they're effectively aligned to you. And this is very hard work for the feminine right now, because it's requiring them to set some boundaries, to hold some boundaries in spaces and places that they may have hoped or aspired would be that place that would show that deeper direction or capability of having this direction. While for masculine right now, this is potentially a moment that is difficult because you yourself are also releasing yourself from situations or circumstances that you feel weren't necessarily aligned to your highest path or your highest good at this moment. And this is very emotionally challenging for the masculine. There's a lot of emotionality at place. In terms of the masculine and feminine energy, this is kind of like a dual release process that you're currently working on at this time that is requiring you to be very vulnerable to a certain degree. Well, for the masculine and feminine energy right now that is experiencing this, that is not in union, some of this is effectively being actively triggered right now because, again, for the masculine and feminine energy right now that is not in union, this is potentially that moment of looking at some of the situations and circumstances that you feel are off their alignment right now, that are off their course, and having to be very open and honest with yourself and vulnerable about why they are not on their course and whether they can get back into alignment or whether they need to be released. All very difficult and sensitive for both sides of the energy right now. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming right now with the Five of Swords in its reversal. What we're really identifying at this moment for both masculine and feminine energy right now is this moment of not wanting to go back to situations and circumstances that have caused any degree of harm or difficulty at this moment. There's this moment, a commitment right now of trying to identify what feels like it is in highest alignment to you right now versus places or spaces that have caused too much difficulty, that have caused too much pain. For some of this energy right now, this is that moment of feeling there is this degree of open-endedness around some circumstances and situations right now. For some of the energy right now, a lot of this vulnerability is recognizing a need or degree not to go back to something that feels like it is not aligned to your own path and your own goals at this time. And that is very difficult because it makes both energies feel like they are in a very vulnerable space. But for masculine and feminine, there's a degree and desire not to want to return to points of conflict. This is that moment of really looking at these situations and saying, is there a productive path forward? Is there a moment of healing that is possible around these? Or is this a moment that one must just create a sense of closure for yourself as you proceed forward from this point, recognizing the vulnerability of doing so in the process? Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is Judgment in its reversal. We are seeing here for both masculine and feminine energy that there is this point of reconsideration that is coming into play right now for both energies. There's a point of questioning some of your own choices at this point. Masculine and feminine energy are in a space where they have to make some choices right now, but even those choices are a deep level of a challenge. This is even potentially having some points of reconsideration around past choices that may have been made and having a lot of optics or concern about making the right choice at this time. But again, feminine and masculine energy are navigating this because there is this different mode that you're moving into. Masculine energy is trying to make these choices right now based on their emotionality, maintaining a point of emotion balance as they choose their path going forward from this point. Feminine energy is doing it by standing in their integrity and holding firm to their boundaries. But even for both energies right now, this is a moment that feels very difficult because you're questioning yourself potentially, even as you're taking these positive, productive steps for yourself at this time in alignment with your own highest path and purpose. We do see that there is this point of vulnerability because it is making you question yourself, even as you take the steps for yourself that you need to proceed forward as you go. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and sharing this with me. If you'd like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, Strega.com. Please keep in mind that booking a private reading with me is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and then you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you hit both buttons if you'd like to have that reading with me. Also, please keep in mind my readings are done over video with the option of recording sent to you afterwards. And if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the post point of payment. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never PM you. I will never DM you. I will never slide into your DMs and tell you that I have a very special message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and sharing these messages with me today. And we will do this again tomorrow.